Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in. If you can, I would request people to just put their systems on mute. Can
I think panelists can also mute so that we'll.
yeah, if we can just start off with our systems on mute and then we'll just resume right after. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking out the time to be a part of this session. Today we have amongst us thought leaders and eminent speakers with a lifetime of experience and admirable insight they have gained over the years. Our discussion today will focus on augmenting agri-warehousing in India, and how WDRA plays a crucial role in developing and strengthening the ecosystem. We have with us Shri Siraj Hussain, Chairman, NERL. Many of you better know him as the former Secretary of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India. He's also a Senior Visiting Fellow, Indian Council of Research on International Economic Relations. Thank you for your time today, sir. We have Shri P. Srinivas, Chairman, WDRA. In the past, he has served as Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of United Bank of India and was also on the board of National Payments Corporation of India. Thank you so much for giving us your time today, sir. We also have with us Shri Vijay Kumar, MD and CEO, NCDX. In the past, he has served the exchange as a Chief Business Officer from 2009 to 2014. He has also served as a Chief Business Officer of NBHC Private Limited and the Group Chief Operating Officer of Sharpmint Limited. Thank you for being a part of this session today, sir. We have Shri Sujit Sehgal, who recently authored his book titled A Wall Street View of Rural India. He brings with him years of experience in the financial market sector and also great insight from his years of travel across rural India. Thank you for your time, sir. We look forward to your observations in this discussion. We have Shri Kedar Deshpande, MD and CEO, NERL, who brings with him decades of experience in agribusiness, retail, and commercial banking. At NERL, his prime focus lies on building a robust warehousing ecosystem, especially for agri-commodities under the WDRA regulatory environment, which will bring forth ease of business for commodity exchanges, banks, farmers, market participants, and warehousemen. Thank you for joining us, sir. Finally, we have with us Ms. Rajlakshmi Nirmal, Senior Deputy Editor with the Hindu Business Line. She has done extensive fieldwork across India, studying agricultural policies implemented by the government. Her articles have evoked public debate on the utility of government schemes and seen policymakers take steps to bring the needed change. We have the pleasure of having her on board as a moderator to navigate this entire session today. Thank you so much for your time today, Rajlakshmi. Before we begin our session, we will be showcasing a short animation on the NERL repository ecosystem for the first time in public today. Hope you all enjoy it. Just starting the small video in a bit.
अरे राम भाई बड़े दिन हो गए आपसे मिले हुए हैं, कैसा चल रहा है?
अरे श्याम भाई सचमुच बहुत दिन हो गए भाई, बाकी ठीक ही चल रहा है।
ठीक ही बढ़िया नहीं
अरे मतलब अच्छा ही चल रहा है, लेकिन गोपाल जी जैसा काम।
ओह, एकदम सही बात कही आप। गोपाल जी की तो चांदी हो गई, ने घर भी बड़ा ले लिया, ऊपर से जमीन भी ले ली और नया ट्रैक्टर भी।
वही तो, देखो उपज तो हमारी भी वही है, फिर कैसे कर रहे हैं वो ये सब है?
पता नहीं राम भाई।
कैसे हो राम और श्याम?
अरे गोपाल जी अरे सब बढ़िया, लेकिन आपके जैसा अब बताओ, अभी हम आप ही के बारे में बात कर रहे थे।
अच्छा, भाई मुझे भी बताओ आखिर क्या बात हो रही थी मेरे बारे में? अरे हम बस आपके कारोबार की तरक्की के बारे में बात कर रहे थे। हमें भी अपनी कामयाबी का राज बताइए।
भाई
इसका जवाब तो सरल है, NERL।
NERL ये क्या चीज है?
NERL यानी नेशनल ई रिपोजिटरी लिमिटेड। ये भारत सरकार की संस्था WDRA से जुड़े वेयर हाउसों में भंडारित उपज के लिए इलेक्ट्रॉनिक नेगोशिएबल वेयर हाउस रिसीट का संचालन करता है। मैं भी NERL से जुड़ गया हूँ अपनी जिंदगी आसान करने के लिए।
अच्छा, और इसके क्या फायदे हैं?
बताता हूँ श्याम। आपकी वेयर हाउस रसीद को NERL इलेक्ट्रॉनिक रूप देकर सुरक्षित रखता है। इसे कहते हैं ENWR, जिसके कई फायदे हैं, जैसे उपज की क्वालिटी चेक, अतः बेहतर भाव, उनकी समय पर उपलब्धता और भंडारण हानियों को कम करने में भी मदद होती है। इसके अलावा कमोडिटी एक्सचेंज से जुड़ने की सुविधा एवं अधिकतर खरीदारों से जुड़ने की सुविधा। ओहो, तो आप ये सब कर रहे हैं? अच्छा, हम कैसे जुड़े NERL से? बहुत आसान, रुको मैं बताता हूँ। पूरी कहानी शुरू होती है जमाकर्ता यानी आपसे, जो अपना उत्पाद WDRA द्वारा पंजीकृत वेयर हाउस में रखवाना चाहते हैं और ENWR बनवाना चाहते हैं। अब सवाल ये है कि ये कहाँ से बनवाया जाए?
हाँ, कहाँ से?
कहाँ से? इस काम में आपकी मदद करेगा एक RP यानी रिपोजिटरी पार्टिसिपेंट, जो NERL के सिस्टम में आपका यानी जमाकर्ता का उसके KYC के आधार पर खाता खोल के देगा। इसी अकाउंट नंबर के माध्यम से आप अपनी उपज को वेयर हाउस में जमा कर सकते हैं और निकाल सकते हैं। साथ ही ENWR पर बैंक से लोन भी ले सकते हैं।
बैंक से लोन वो कैसे मिलेगा?
समझाता हूँ। मानिए आपने अपनी उपज या उत्पाद वेयर हाउस में रखवा दी, फिर वेयर हाउस मैन उत्पाद का वजन माप कर क्वालिटी कर्मचारी या जांचकर्ता संस्था के पास क्वालिटी चेक के लिए भेजता है, जो उत्पाद की ग्रेडिंग, वैधता और गुणवत्ता मापते हैं। इसका रिपोर्ट वेयर हाउस मैन को भेजा जाता है। इसी रिपोर्ट के आधार पर वेयर हाउस मैन माल का ग्रेड, गुणवत्ता, सही वजन और अन्य जानकारी आपके अकाउंट नंबर के अंतर्गत NERL के सिस्टम में डाल देता है। अब इसी जानकारी के आधार पर वेयर हाउस मैन आपके रिपोजिटरी अकाउंट में ENWR बना कर देता है, जो आपको बैंक से लोन प्राप्त करने में मदद करेगा। इस ENWR के साथ जमाकर्ता यानी आप अपने वेयर हाउस में रखे उत्पाद पर RP द्वारा बैंक से लोन का अनुरोध कर सकते हैं। इसकी प्रक्रिया RP सिस्टम में शुरू करता है और बैंक को रिक्वेस्ट भेजता है। वेयर हाउस में रखे हुए माल को वेयर हाउस मैन चेक करके इससे संबंधित ENWR को चेक करके सत्यापित करता है। यही सत्यापित ENWR फिर बैंक को लोन देने की प्रक्रिया शुरू करने के लिए भेजा जाता है और ये सब काम डिजिटली NERL प्लेटफॉर्म पे हो जाता है। वेयर हाउस में रखे हुए इस माल का मूल्य निकालकर बैंक उस पर लोन की पात्रता व सीमा तय करता है और उस मूल्य का लोन जमाकर्ता को प्रदान कर देता है। और सिर्फ यही नहीं, यही ENWR तुम्हें कमोडिटी एक्सचेंज से जुड़ने की सुविधा भी प्रदान करेगा।
अच्छा, अब समझ में आया। तो क्या बोलते हो श्याम भाई, आज ही चलें किसी RP के पास, एक अकाउंट खोल लेते हैं ENWR बनाने के लिए।
हाँ, बिल्कुल जी। यहाँ सबसे पास में कौन सा RP है?
NERL से पूछ लीजिए। उनकी टोल फ्री हेल्पलाइन नंबर है 1800-209-6007। उस पर कॉल कीजिए और पता चल जाएगा आपको। या उनकी वेबसाइट www.nerlindia.com पर भी RPO की पूरी लिस्ट उपलब्ध है।
अच्छा हुआ आप मिल गए गोपाल जी, बहुत बहुमूल्य जानकारी मिली आपसे।
आप दोनों से मिलकर भी अच्छा लगा। चलिए अब NERL को फोन लगाइए और निकल पड़िए आप दोनों भी समृद्धि के रास्ते पर।
Well, that was a pretty elaborate explanation of how the repository can benefit so many participants on the repository itself. Now I will hand over to Raj Lakshmi to begin the session for the day. Over to you, Rajlakshmi. Meanwhile, if anyone from the audience has any questions, you can just leave them in the questions window and we can address them in the Q&A sessions later. Over to you, Rajlakshmi.
Thank you, Anisha. Thank you so much. That was a nice piece of animation video put together. Congrats to the team on that. So good evening, everyone. Good evening, all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to be a part of this panel today. Over the last 6 months, all of us have been facing several challenges because of the COVID-19-led lockdown. And we have countered them by taking things easy at home and at office. But it was not so the case with farmers. We all know that, be it with the sowing process, be it with harvest, they have taken all the challenges head on, and they have continued to support us through the lockdown. If we need to show our gratitude to these farmers, one way could be sitting right a link in the supply chain, which is warehousing, and which is very important to help farmers get a right price on their produce. See, how much ever we continue to do or support in terms of input subsidies or easy credit, interest-free loans, that will not suffice until a farmer is able to get a good price, the right price on his produce. So this is where agri-warehousing deserves its importance. So here today, we are to discuss the challenges in the farm sector, especially with respect to agri-warehousing, and how the new WDRA ecosystem can help farmers get a better price on their produce and do his marketing well, get his finance in order. So all of these. So as we discuss, if you as audience have some questions, you are welcome to post it on the webinar link. And so let me, without wasting any time, let me start the Q&A with the first question to Siraj sir. So all through your experience as a former agri secretary and and all years after that too, you would have seen farmers face a lot of challenges post harvest, especially in terms of storing their produce, then in terms of safekeeping it from wind, and then marketing the produce and getting the right price. So what is the perspective, or what is your viewpoint, can the WDRA system change to help farmers in this entire challenge of post-harvest management?
Okay. So thank you very much, NERL, for organizing this. We know it very well that farmers work extremely hard to produce their crop. They bear the uncertainties of weather and not knowing what is coming the next day. So it is really tragic that after working for several months, the farmers are not certain that they will realize a fair price for their produce. In his book, Mr. Sehgal, who will be speaking later in the program, has documented what do the farmers have to go through when they take their produce to a mandi. We have seen that the mandi system, despite all its good points, was still not very transparent, and in many cases we have seen that due to inadequate competition in the mandi, the farmers were not able to realize a fair price. Therefore, the previous government enacted the WDRA Act in 2008, and it took about 2 years to operationalize it. From 2010, the WDRA as an authority became functional, and now we have an ecosystem where the farmers and the traders can store their produce in a warehouse and wait for better prices. So to sum it up, a farmer can now hope to get a better price in the market by keeping his produce in a warehouse and getting a loan against it.
Yes, sir. Hello. You want to continue, sir?
No.
Right. So when we understand the challenges as a farmer, I would ask this question to Sujit. you would have seen farmers encountering a lot of difficulties at the time of marketing their produce. So we here are presenting a system to them, an electronic platform to them, saying that you bring your produce, you put them in your warehouse, and from there everything is going to be digital. So when you see this system from a farmer standpoint, what do you think would be a challenge to him? In the first place, is there enough awareness for all farmers to take to this platform? If not, how do you think we could improve things for them?
Yeah, I think Rajalakshmi is a very good point, right? And in fact, we started today's session with this very cute animated film. And I think that is the whole crux of the point, that there are so many schemes, there are so many policy steps that have been taken, and Siraj is the authority to talk about that. But the missing link, I feel, and spending time on the ground, is that the information scarcity or scarcity of awareness is the biggest problem, and therefore it is also the biggest solution. So these kind of short animation films I think are the missing link, where farmers many times don't know that there is a network of warehouses. WDRA and
You're right.
electronic warehousing receipts is one part, but even otherwise,
Right.
whatever warehouses were available in the private sector. So when I was doing these trips over the last 10 years, and I would ask the warehouse owners that who is your typical customer, and I've gone to many of them, and some of them are very fancy and all that, and they would, because the whole objective, as we have just laid it out, is to benefit the farmer. But then why is it that all the 10-15 million tons worth of storage that was done by the private sector, at 80 to 90% of the person using it to store is the buyer?
Right.
Bulk of it is the buyer who's actually using it. And I remember being told that over the years, of course, it is improved, and the farmer from 5%, 10% is slowly increasing, and that is the whole awareness issue. So I think that should be addressed. Whether government uses private agencies like the RPs to spread the message, or goes even a step further and uses private sector market researchers feet on the ground to go and educate the farmer, just like you showed in the animated film. The fact that a warehouse is there, how does it help me? I think it's a big gap.
Right. Get your point, Sujit. So now at this point, maybe I think I would rope in Kedar for a question. So can you explain to us a little bit, in a simple manner, how this entire system works, right from the point of registration of a warehouse to the point where a farmer gets an ENWR issued. So how does it work? How does it translate to benefit of a farmer? Can you explain to this in a gist, sir?
Mike, to answer Raj Lakshmi, before that I will just give some kind of a statistic about the ENWR. Today we are having more than 700 farmers who have opened the account. So it is actually 23 to 25% of the universe. And in a lockdown period, that is in a COVID, during the lockdown period, the total farmers who have participated is 180 farmers have taken the ENWR and availed the loan. And out of the 672 customers, so there the participation is also something around 27 to 30%. So conventionally, we used to say that only 10% or 12% farmer participate. I think it is improving. No doubt the expectations are high, but it is improving. Now, to answer your question, is whenever the warehouse get registered with the WDRA, we immediately contact we create the awareness program at the warehouse level. We call the interested participants. It may be a farmer at local level, the traders, the buyers, sellers, along with the bank and the repository participant, and we do a multiple campaign in every warehouse. So if you look at since the inception, we have done more than 400 awareness campaign at a warehouse level, because at the warehouse level is important, because within the vicinity of 15 to 20 kilometers the farmer is staying, and then we do some kind of a calling, or we do some kind of a campaign through the pamphlet or some kind of a literature, I'm telling you honestly, sometimes it's so bad that only 5 people participate, but we continue doing that awareness campaign, and that's why we got the farmer. We mobilized the farmer accounts, and the farmer have taken the ENWRs. The predominantly, if you look at the participation, also the participation of the farmer is mainly from the Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, so southern states are comparatively better than the northern states. You can, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, this is from my side. Yeah.
So basically, when a warehouse gets registered with WDRA, at the same time, people, be it farmers or traders, whoever who brings the stock into the warehouse, is supposed to open an account. Am I right, Kedar? So from that point, how does it work?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So how does it work for a farmer from that point?
So now the thing. Okay, so the in the awareness program, we the interested party, we tell them what kind of documents are required. So mainly it is, you know, that it's a KYC. We collect the documents, we fill up the forms, and then the RP is already there. So RP take the form to the office. He create the account. It takes something around 2 to maximum 4 days. And then the farmer is conveyed through the SMS and the email. If he doesn't have, then ultimately we convey that through a mobile telephone, because all these farmers are generally having the mobile. As you know that in a warehouse receipt finance also, the comparatively better farmer, or you can put it a progressive farmer participate. So we convey that message through mobile phone, and whenever he have the produce, he bring that produce to the registered warehouse, and then the ENWR is created. So warehouseman do the, as per the assessing, that is a AGMA grade, and he get the ENWR, and he immediately he pass on that ENWR number to the bank, and the bank create the pledge on that. This is we call it the charge on that, and he disburse the loan amount. So that's the way the transaction get completed.
Okay, so can you summarize for me the advantages for a farmer in a ENWR vis-a-vis a physical warehouse receipt, Kedar? Because we understand the process is the same. He's going to bring his produce to the warehouse, pledge it, and borrow against it. But what is the difference if he does in a WDRA registered warehouse, and what if he does it in an unregistered warehouse?
Okay, in an unregistered warehouse, he have to spend some time. He have to do some kind of a legwork, because he's going to get the physical receipt, and then that physical receipt he have to carry it, he have to submit it to the branch, and then the branch will create the pledge. Before the pledging, the branch will do the verification of the stock and everything. Here what happened, that as it is an electronic negotiable warehouse, he have to give the ENWR number, and as it is stored into the registered warehouses, the few banks have accepted that they will not do the investigation before the giving the loan. So the process has become fast, and his legwork is reduced. So turnaround time, like if you take it in some private sector bank, just to give example, the private sector bank have said up to 1 crore of loan, they will do the disbursement in 2 hours if the ENWR is available, because the legwork which the farmer has to do it, if you that is get reduced. Because in a hinterland, you see that the warehouse farmers house, the RP's office and the bank office is always it's kind of a 20-30 kilometers territory. So the farmer has to do that kind of legwork, but because of this ENWR, legwork will get reduced. Yeah.
Right. So in terms of, so we are focusing our, a case for ENWRs through the finance availability for a farmer in terms of how he can pledge the ENWR and raise finance. But besides this, what are the other advantages that this digital platform can bring to a farmer, Kedar?
Okay, so one more thing is that now as the new ordinance has come, he can sell this the produce sitting in by keeping the goods in the warehouse. Now, if you look at the conventionally also, which farmer used to bring the produce into the warehouse? The farmer brings the produce to the warehouse, not taking the produce back to home. He generally keep the produce in the warehouse, and he immediately find out the trader who can buy this produce. So similarly here, he can get the buyer through electronic platform. So that kind of platform is from the NEML platform. You already connected, and we are already connected with the Enam platform. So now, if you go back to the theory that the ENWR is available across the market, yes, so if you say primary market is the APMC market, yes, we are connected to the APMC market through Enam. If you look into the secondary market, we are connected to the secondary market through NEML, and we are already connected with the exchange, which is the tertiary market. So we are already connected with the NCDX. So this facility again available with the farmer. And already one more just to add point, in a lockdown period, we have done this tie-ups And we already completed some transaction, the spot transaction through the FPO, where the FPO have got the good price and he has sold it to the local trader without getting into the mandi. So that's also we have done it. So the pilot or the case study is also completed.
Right, right. Point taken, Kedar. Srinivas,
thank you.
sir, maybe I think we'd like to add on to the points which Kedar mentioned. You know, when someone is bringing his commodity, his stock to a WDRA registered warehouse, what are the safety points that you tell him? What are the guarantees that you give? You know, as a regulator of the warehousing authority, as a regulator and a warehousing authority, what are the safety points that you assure the participant of, say the farmer or the stockist, whoever keeps the stock?
See, the major worry, I hope I am audible. The major worry for any
Yes, sir.
depositor will be that once he deposited his stock, that stock is kept in an orderly manner, the quality is protected, and the quantity is appropriately delivered whenever he wants. And in case it doesn't happen, he needs somebody who can resolve the issue. This is the farmer requires. So in this regard, I can say, whenever we register a warehouse, the warehouse standards, construction standards are verified. We conduct a pre-inspection of the warehouse, and we ensure that the warehouse is fit to hold the stock for those commodities which he is opting. Different commodities requires different kinds of infrastructure required. For example, you are keeping something like a cotton, which is highly inflammable. Then it needs an additional requirements in that warehouse. You should have at least 1,000 or a 10,000 liter water tank. You should have a different kind of fire extinguishers. Those things are required. Whereas when you store in a cotton atmosphere, it doesn't need any aeration. You can keep it locked only. But if you keep agricultural goods, something like a paddy or pulses, those warehouse needs some aeration also. So we verify the construction standards before we start. That is the security for the depositor. The warehouse which once WDR registered, it is fit in all respects. We verify the plinth, verify everything. Similarly, we ensure that it has got sufficient insurance, because all insurance risks are covered properly. Whether it is a fire insurance, whether it is a burglary insurance, whether it is a fidelity insurance, what quantum it should have. So insurance risks are covered. Without insurances, we don't allow it to happen. Then non-insurable risks also there. There is every possibility that there may be some dispute. And dispute are the product which stored in a warehouse, because of the carelessness of the warehouse man, it has got spoiled or weight has gone bad. Then we take a fixed security deposit from the warehouse man, some percentage of the value, which will we verify the grievance. We are the grievance addressor. So people can lodge a grievance. We verify grievance is genuine. If it is genuine, from out of the deposit, we will be able to compensate. So both insurable risks, non-insurable risks are appropriately protected. Grievance redressal, you need not go to a court of law. You need not go to a police station. You can lodge with us online. And the entire process in WDRA happens only online. There is no human intervention. So there is no face. So everything happens through whether registration, inspection or anything. Above all, once a stock is stored, our inspectors at frequent intervals, they verify the warehouse. They visit the warehouse, they verify the quality, they verify the quantity. And once in a year, we visit the entire infrastructure. Whether infrastructure what 1 year back kept was properly maintained, those things are continuing or something spoiled. Generally, that what happens, some fire extinguisher doesn't work. They don't get it repaired. So once in a year, we recheck the entire infrastructure as a general inspection. So these are all the advantages for somebody if he keeps with us.
Right. So the system is completely foolproof, I understand from what you say, and there are enough checks and balances in place to ensure that there are no grievances on either side. So how many warehouses are registered with you, sir, in the last few years? How many warehouses so far?
As of now, we are having 1,850 warehouses registered with us. What happens is, you should understand that though last year we registered 1,000 registers, before year we registered 700. This year from April, because of the COVID, hardly 200 warehouses only registered. You may ask, what happened to all these warehouses? It is a practice in the warehousing business. 11 months lease is only taken by them. So many of the private people, they take for 11 months, they do the business, and if they find that warehouse is not generating sufficient income to them, they discard, they go for again. So many of the warehouses gets registered and gets surrendered in a year after a year. So in a last year, 480 warehouses were surrendered like that, which were registered before year. That is why now what we have started, we are concentrating more on cooperative, primary agriculture cooperative societies, which are having their own warehouses. We are concentrating more on them who are very nearer to the farmer. We are getting them registered. Last year we got registered 800 cooperative warehouses from Tamil Nadu. Now we are going for other states also to get them registered. So one, surrender issue will not be there. Second, they are really nearer to the farmer. So we will be able to facilitate the farmer instead of a trader, as Mr. Sangha said initially. We will be going more for them.
Right. Get your point, sir. So just to get a little bit more clarity around the warehouses that come forward to register with WDRA. So of this 1,850 warehouses, how many are state and central warehouses and how many are private warehouses?
See, about 180 of the central warehousing CWC got registered. CWC out of their 450 and odd warehouses, which were given to Food Corporation of India, they don't register. Remaining all where they are doing with a public, they register with us. And mostly private people, frankly speaking, they register with us for the commodity derivative exchange purposes. Because SEBI mandated any warehouse to be accredited by a commodity derivative exchange, mandatorily to be registered with WDRA. So that is where there goes. There are good amount of individuals, 400, 500 individuals. They are doesn't come under any category. They got registered with us, and remaining are cooperative. About 800 are the cooperative.
Right. Okay. I think there's a very important macro aspect to warehousing that we need to discuss here. But before we get into it, I think I'll have a question with Vijay Kumar, sir. So when we are talking about ENWRs as an instrument, Kedar also mentioned that they are facilitating trading of ENWRs on NEML platform, on ENA, and also on NCDEX, the derivatives platform. So how does that system, how does that ecosystem work? How is trade being facilitated on ENWR instruments? And how is it far easier for a farmer to trade via ENWR vis-a-vis physical commodities?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you are audible, sir.
Yeah. I would just like to maybe first start with the aspect of in trading, say, equities or other financial instruments, there is no physicality required. Right? Earlier, maybe quite a long time ago, there were physical shares, and therefore those physical shares had to be moved from buyer to seller. But that has been removed now with so-called dematerialization or demat process, right? So now everything's electronic. But in physical commodities, you cannot demat because the essence is the physical commodity. At the end of the day, it's the physical commodity that is required to be used or bought or consumed or processed, right? So you cannot do away with the physical commodity. In fact, it's the physical commodity that's the most important. The financial layer and the documentary layer are easy to automate, and of course need very robust systems with a lot of safety and continuity of operation. But the physical layer is what is required to be provided in a form that builds trust. So one of the reasons why the current mandi system operates, for instance, is that unless buyer and seller are both physically present, unless they both examine the goods, they can't arrive at a price. And the biggest difference with the ENWR is that now the seller has put in goods and a third party has inspected the goods and has arrived at a grade. And now any buyer anywhere in the country has the trust that these goods exist, that these goods are of this quantity and of this quality. And I think that is the biggest sort of trust factor, which enables any buyer anywhere in the country to buy it and not necessarily move it at the time. So the goods exchange hands in terms of ownership because it's a negotiable warehouse receipt, and money can be paid with trust. And I think trust underlines the whole exercise. And I think one thing I'd like to sort of highlight in terms of the negotiable warehouse receipt is that under the WDRA Act, this constitutes legal title of goods. So if there is a dispute, if you go to court of law, you can you have a legal entity and a regulatory authority behind you to convince the dispute that because it's in your name, you have ownership of that document. So I think these two aspects of trust and the legal backing behind that negotiable warehouse receipt that enables virtually a national trade. And as was mentioned, as far as NCDEX is concerned, the entire deliveries on the exchange, 100% are carried out through negotiable warehouse receipts. And so this gives an example of what the entire universe can be. Of course, on the exchange, the quantum of deliveries is lower because we are largely a futures platform, and it's only for convergence that the delivery occurs. But even then, we do maybe 30,000-40,000 tons of delivery every month. And if this was to transport itself to the wider ecosystem, then the impact will really be, and the benefits to whether it's a farmer, an FPO, or a trader, right through to a processor and even an exporter, the benefits are all the way across the supply chain.
Right. So this instrument, sir, ENWR, how does SEBI as a regulator accommodate ENWR, sir? What is their standpoint on ENWRs?
Yeah, so I think as Mr. Srinivas pointed out, between SEBI and WDRA, they came together to say that let's do it fully. Let's not do this as one of the instruments, right? So I think the proof of the pudding lies in the eating. And today we can see that all parties who transact on the futures platform, whether it's a farmer producer organization or a trader or a processor, they are they have the trust, they understand the mechanisms, and also, like alluded to, it's seamless. It's all at the click of a mouse, and that ease has been significant. And of course, at the end of it, the goods move. But one of the things to remember is that in agricultural crops in particular, the crop comes only once a year, or in some cases maybe twice a year. But the commodity has to be stored for 10 months, 11 months, and may change hands multiple times. And there is no need for the goods to physically move each time it is sold. I think that's the biggest benefit that traders have. And I think the policy announcements recently, the ordinances liberalizing it, will really now make it even easier to trade. Earlier, we would have, even if goods were kept, even if it was negotiable warehouse receipt, if you wanted to move it from here to another place, you would have to go through all the local mandi regulations in terms of getting forms, Anugya Patra and Form 9R and 5R and so on. So now all those impediments have also been removed. So now it's really truly a very good instrument for a national market. And I think when people talk about national market, without an ENWR, you cannot actually achieve a national market because you need that as the trustworthy instrument at the core of what is the national market, at least for commodities.
True, true. Valid points, sir, valid points. Let me come back to you in a minute. Before that, the questions that I was having with Mr. Srinivas. From what you said, I could understand that not all of the central warehouses or state warehousing corporations are registered under WDRA, right? So we are talking about a scenario where we want all the warehouses to come and register so that the benefit is available across. But we are seeing a scenario where even the public warehouses are not registered. So is there a challenge or is there a stumbling block which can grow ENWR? What do you think, Srinivasa?
Yes, that is the Act says registering with WDRA is only an optional until you are interested to issue a negotiable warehouse receipt. You need not register the WDRA. As per the present state of the Act of the WDRA Development and Regulation Act 2007, which Mr. Siraj referred. As per the Act, only those warehouses who intend to issue negotiable warehouse receipt. Any negotiable warehouse receipt is now we made it electronic. So there is no paper-based negotiable warehouse receipt. Or if you say negotiable warehouse receipt, is only electronic negotiable warehouse receipt. So that transformation took place only 3 years back. So there is always an issue. First one, all warehouses need not be registered with WDRA even now, because WDRA meets the requirements of a public warehouses only. Those people who keep their warehouses for public comes and stores their waste stock, then a WDRA regulator is required. If somebody keeps his own stock in his own warehouse, then there is no need of a regulation. For example, you take a cement factory, he keeps a lot of stock. You take a sugar factory, he keeps all his stock in a warehouses of his own, either in the factory or outside. Then we don't have any control or interest. He also doesn't need it, because he is not giving any warehouse receipt to anybody. It is his own stock he is keeping. Our interest is ultimately we are pursuing with the government now. We are making several representations. Please amend the Act in such a way, over a period, if not immediately, say next 2 or 3 years, in phases, you ensure all warehouses which are doing public activity, for whom public are coming and keeping their stocks, whether they may be for central government or state government or a cooperative, or coming the FPOs are taking on lease, whatever be the way, that should mandatorily be registered to WDRA. This is our interest, and this is the one request we are making with everybody. We hope government sometime will understand the requirement once as the lot of changes are coming into the agriculture marketing over a period, say last few months. This is one point, as Mr. Vijay Kumar rightly pointed out, for you to get a national market, mandate registration of WDRA is more important. Further, when Essential Commodities Act was removed, government now has no way to know what is the stock, where it is there, how much it is there. That known, all warehouses are registered with WDRA, and everybody issued a warehouse receipt, negotiable one, in an electronic manner, just by a drop of computer wise. End of the day, they will know how much stock is there, which location is there, which kind is there, what qualities are available in the market. So government will get a lot of information so as to manage without Essential Commodities Act still making commodities available and not black marketed.
True. Yes, a very interesting angle that you have opened up for discussion in this panel. So I think Siraj will be in a good position to take up this question. So over the years, you would have observed, when you were as a former Secretary of Agriculture also, when there is a inflation situation in the economy, when prices of food rise, say grains or pulses or whatever it be. So how does the decision process work on what is the next step ahead? We see that there is a lot of gaps in terms of data, through which a decision can be taken by the powers that be. So what is the general course of action, and what do you think can change with WDRA?
Thank you for raising this question. As Mr. Srinivas has rightly mentioned, at present, the government has no idea about the private stocks of essential commodities. So what happens is, whenever there is a chance of price rise, the government monitors the situation through the portal created by Department of Consumer Affairs and the information obtained from National Horticulture Board, Economics and Statistical Advisor, and the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So these are 4 or 5 organizations through which information is collected. Even the MPC of Reserve Bank of India depends on these organizations for collection of data. Now, and there is no way the private stock of an essential commodity can be known. Now, during the lockdown period, we saw that the government decreased the customs duty on masood for import from Canada. In case of US, retaliatory measures continued, and therefore duty was not reduced for import of masood from US. Now, on what basis this decision was taken? Primarily because of the rising prices and possibility of prices rising, which is based on a subjective assessment. Therefore, if the government really wants that Essential Commodities Act, which has been amended, which is proposed to be amended by the government, already amended through an ordinance, if the government wants that the amended provisions actually continue and the prices do not rise by 50% in case of non-fresh produce, then the government should get a handle on the private stocks. It can be very easily done by making registration of warehouses with WDRA compulsory. I do not think we need to wait for 3 years. The government has shown urgency by issuing the ordinances. Somebody can say, what was the need of issuing ordinances during COVID times? See, the thing is that this debate has been going on for about 20 years, as Mr. Sehgal has written in his book. So you can't wait indefinitely. I don't think we should wait for 3 years. The government should make up its mind how it wants to implement the ordinance. An easy way of doing that is to make registration compulsory so that government knows what is going on as far as the essential commodities are concerned.
Right. It is very good perspectives around how things work. Maybe I think we should discuss this more openly here. I would like to have this question with Srinivas sir. See, always when there is a pressure to do something, there is always a resistance from the parties involved. So when we are talking about warehousing, there is a resistance from the collateral managers who are basically doing the role of WDRA currently, in terms of assisting the buyers, in terms of assisting the sellers. So as WDRA, as a regulator, what portion of the role of collateral managers will you be taking up? And will you be making a collateral management service non-essential once WDRA is there in the picture?
I don't agree. You see, it is the confidence level of the financial institutions which created this activity of collateral management. So having 38, 40 years experience in banking in a public sector, I know till early 2000, there is no such word like collateral manager. Warehousing is happening from much before our independence, but CWC is working from sometime 1960. State warehousing corporations are all working, and warehouse receipts are being financed by the public sector banks. As a bank manager, I am well aware. But only after recently people started, because of the various reasons, because banks slowly outsourcing their job to third party. Otherwise, stock verification is to be done by a bank man. Bank person has to verify at frequent intervals, which we used to do. So this is the purpose collateral manager was brought as additional. It's an additional layer. So they, instead of believing a warehouse man, they wanted a middleman who has to take care of it. WDRA is a regulator. WDRA ensures, as per the Act, the warehousemen do the specific duties. Whether it is a warehouse service provider or a warehouseman individual, he has to do a set of duty of ensuring quality and quantity. We make him to do it. And whether he's doing it or not, we do different checks and balances. We ask him to update the data. So collateral manager will give you mostly as a warehouse service provider. Who is a collateral manager? More a warehouse service provider. He's taking either his own warehouses or warehouses on lease and assuring banks. And instead of that, if banks have a confidence on electronic negotiable warehouse receipt, banks will continue to avail the finance against electronic negotiable warehouse receipt, using or not using. It all depends upon the bank's risk management mechanism. Somebody wants double risk, triple risk management. He can have many more things. He can have his branch staff verifying. He can have WDRA staff verifying. He can have collateral manager also verifying. So collateral manager role and WDRA role are different. WDRA is a regulator, and WDRA doesn't charge anything for the entire activity. For a registration of a 5 years, we charge 20,000 to 30,000 depending upon the capacity. If it is a cooperative, we charge only 5,000 rupees. Whereas in 5 years, if somebody runs, I may be conducting about 30 to 40 inspections, each inspection paying 10 to 15,000 rupees. That means I am spending out 4-5 lakhs on him. So I am not collecting anything about it. So whereas collateral manager collects from bank for doing the service. Collateral manager, WDRA, two different activities.
Okay.
Only they're conceptually different thinking. The WDRA has its own role to do. Collateral managers do only large size godowns, large size only. My duty is more to help the smallest of the farmer. More of a small farmer store in a warehouse is my responsibility.
Right. Get your point, sir. So you're clearly distinguishing the responsibilities of a collateral manager, which is in providing that particular service, and WDRA as a regulator. Sujit, do you want to add to what he mentioned as a point on collateral managers, because you would have seen and spoken to a lot of them in your 10 years of travel. So as a service provider, do you think collateral managers play a role which can't be replaced, or you think with an effective regulator in place now that role becomes unnecessary now?
No, I think exactly that is the point, right? I mean, even before the WDRA's existence and sort of becoming more organized, this activity, as Mr. Srinivas said, has been going on for a long time. And at that time, this layer was not there. So banks were doing it themselves, but they were not able to probably provide it to the farmer or to the person who needs it in a seamless and seamless manner, or with the speed and efficiency that the collateral guys could do it. If you go to one of these warehouses, you will see that even many times, even the bank's person is still sitting there. There is a lab inside the warehouse. There is a bank's person sitting there, and that is the activity they are performing for the farmer. So WDRA, as I see it, is more on the regulatory side to give it's like a clearing corporation in stock markets, right? So it's like basically where you are in the middle and you are ensuring everything is going to be okay. But that doesn't mean that the activity of actually managing that whole piece will not have to be done. Either banks do it themselves, or somebody will have to kind of do that. But I wanted to also make one more point, which Siraj mentioned about how the pricing mechanism that we were talking about, how price discovery for the essential commodities, how that can help the farmer itself if it is available at a broader level. I think the core reason why a farmer uses a warehouse is why. It's because the current spot prices are low, and he doesn't want to let go his produce at this price. And therefore, what is embedded in that is an expectation that prices will rise. And in a short period, he doesn't have the wherewithal anyway to store it, things are perishable, etc., etc. So if he has to take a view on the price, basically, he is not a trader by nature. He doesn't have his risk management things. So I think when I talked about awareness and education, I think what WDRA or NERL can also do is also educate them on risk management and on tracking prices, monitoring prices, and having some sort of information there. But I think better price discovery will help the farmer to take that decision. So one is to educate him there is a warehouse for you. Other is to tell him that it makes sense because prices are likely to move up or likely to go down. So don't wait. So I think that what Siraj was saying, I think adds to the benefit to the end farmer if the price discovery can be much better, not only for the government but also for the farmer.
Right. Right. Vijay Kumar, sir, maybe you want to add a point here because we are talking about price discovery. So the farmer assumes that if he puts his stock in the warehouse and he'll be able to realize a better price, say 1 month, 2 months ahead. But there is a risk that prices can come down also. So how is this price risk managed through derivative as an instrument? How do we establish the link here?
I think there are a couple of things. One is when we see now that the government is actually a large buyer in multiple markets, whether it's wheat or pulses or oil seeds, right? Now, one of the advantages of this negotiable warehouse receipt system is that the government agency, whether it's FCI or it is NAFED, they can themselves buy using this negotiable warehouse receipt. Okay, so one of the things that is necessary for improving the use and the wide use of these products or these instruments is that, for example, as you mentioned, if a farmer or a FPO in Rajasthan has put his wheat in the warehouse of WDRA and he's made it into a negotiable warehouse receipt, and the government is buying wheat at MSP. Okay, FCI can just click on a button and buy this material and pay that through ENAM or one of the national markets that is now being created, right? Whether it's ENAM or NEML. And therefore, instead of what is today happening where FCI is creating, and maybe not instead of, in addition to its own procurement operations where they are almost establishing a mandi or going to a mandi and doing large scale procurement. And that can only happen in a few places. This large scale procurement can happen in 2 or 3 states or 4 states where physical resources are required, the whole government machinery is required. But this method of buying, even by the government, is just at a click of a mouse and the money is transferred. And the good part about that is when they eventually sell, because the government, some of the PDS material, of course, goes to the ration shops, but in a lot of cases, the government also sells through OMSs or subsequent stock disposal. And that can again happen through the click of a mouse, right? Now, this sort of adoption of the very instruments that the government is advocating on the one side, the government should also be using on the other side, or government agencies should be using on the other side. And that will truly propel momentum towards, as Mr. Srinivas said, therefore, if the CWC warehouses are used by farmers and FPOs to put in wheat or put in pulses, then the government agencies, if they are the buyers at MSP, they can buy using the very instruments that we're talking about. Today, that is not the case, but I think going forward, that will definitely be the case. As far as exchange is concerned, I think as was pointed out, if the farmer wants to lock in a price 3 months forward, there are instruments, and I think our recommendation always to farmers or FPOs has been, it is good to lock in prices even when you plant the seed in the ground. That is the safer way to run business. To speculate that maybe prices will go up tomorrow, that is not necessarily the right way. But if you want to do that, then it's at your risk. So it is not always that prices keep going up during the season, but in a safer way is maybe someone will pay you a higher price and that price is visible on the futures platform. So you sell it today and store it, and 2 months later you deliver it on the exchange, or you buy an option. And if you, at least you're protected as far as that price is concerned. And if prices do go up, then you also get the better price of the higher price compared to the price at which you locked in your option. So I think both these, hopefully these, like I said, these instruments are available, options are available, ENWRs are available. Now it's up to the all entities, whether they are farmers, farmer producer organizations, banks, government, to actively use the very instruments that can make it very efficient for all the entities that I mentioned.
Right. Point taken, sir. So one thing that we stopped in between when we were discussing this I would like to ask Kedar on this. So we're talking about the importance of data on private stock. Srinivas sir was also highlighting how it is essential to know how much of stock is there in the warehouses. So when we are talking about that, how or what kind of data can the WPI ecosystem offer? Can the repository ecosystem offer to take any course of action? What kind of data does your digital platform offer? And is it on a real-time basis?
You're on mute, Kedar.
Yeah. So the data is on a real-time basis. We are connected with the WDRA 24/7. So through the APIs, we are connected with the WDRA 24/7. The data comprises the warehouse location, the commodity, the variety of the commodity, the grades, and if it is any kind of off-market transaction happen, any kind of other transaction happen like pledge, and we get the total audit trail. So from the origination, the original defined is we call it as a know-your depositor. So from the original depositor to the last exit or withdrawal of the ENWR, all data is available real time. So it is available with the WDRA because every day at the end of the day we exchange that data, and every morning we get the new warehouses data from the WDRA for the issuing the ENWR. So it is 24/7 available.
So will all data across the warehouses available at one point with WDRA? Can that data on what goods and where it is stored, can that be attained?
Yes. It is available at the WDRA, absolutely, because WDRA is managing the two repositories. So both the repositories, I think the Srinivas sir can answer that. But yes, WDRA is having that data.
Okay. But sir, Siraj sir, I may want to ask you this question. When we say that data is available, don't you think that creates a fear amongst the private traders that, if I'm putting my stocks in a WDRA warehouse, then there is possibility that my stock is being tracked by someone? Do you think that's the fear which is stopping trade from registering under WDRA?
Actually, so far, I would not say it is this fear, because so far this ecosystem is very small. As Mr. Srinivas has mentioned, in the whole country, there are just about 1,850 warehouses. In fact, out of this 1,800, some 350 are in Madhya Pradesh alone. Bihar has only, 5-6 godowns. West Bengal, Jharkhand, etc. have very small. Even Punjab has less than 10 warehouses which are registered. Entire Northeast has almost zero. So this ecosystem has not really picked up so far, for a variety of reasons. Now is the opportunity, because now the government has regulated the agricultural trade. One more point I would like to make out is that the entire reason for demonetization was to bring formalization to various sectors in economy. So if the government decided to, by way of demonetizing the currency, which put almost everybody in the country at a serious trouble, people stood in bank lines, many people died, then the next step should have been to make this compulsory, the warehouse registration, so that the government knows what is going on in the agricultural market. So the government demonetized, but after that did nothing. Now with these three ordinances, there is an opportunity to actually accept the future, which means that we will not bring back Essential Commodities Act, because we have this information available with us, what is the private stock. And if government knows the stock, then government can moderate the import duties. There are other instruments other than the Essential Commodities Act which can be used to keep the prices under check. Therefore, it is necessary that this is done.
Okay. I think that actually is a very interesting point. when there is a system established, when there is a platform which helps track data on a real-time basis, I think that should reduce the fear and not increase the fear. Hello?
Hello?
Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, Rajlakshmi, please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, you are audible.
Right. Thank you. So that brings us to another question on how to take this platform across to people. We are targeting, or we are looking towards bringing more farmers on the platform. So Sujit was highlighting a very valid point on how to improve the awareness around it. So in terms of creation of awareness, what are a few things that we are doing in terms of building the network or reaching out to farmers? So I would like to first hear from Srinivas sir, and then maybe from Kedar, that in terms of creation of awareness on this, what are the few things that we are doing?
With regard to awareness for farmers and with regards to management of a warehouse, we train both of them. Every registered warehouseman, we give a 5 days training. We give an exclusive training for 5 days. Even today also one training program is happening on a video at Madurai. So everybody within next 3-4 months of registration, we give him how a ENWR to be generated, how every activity. Beyond that, what our first and foremost development is for scientific storage. So how a scientific storage to happen in a warehouse, how a fumigation to take place, when a fumigation is required, all these aspects we repeatedly train the warehouseman. When it comes to farmers, for a one-day training program, we conduct for farmers also very frequently. Every year, about 100 to 120 programs, each of 50 to 60 farmers we are conducting. That means about 6,000 to 7,000 people we are training in the farmer side, and warehouses. It is our mandate. Every registered warehouse we will train. So training wise, when look to the massive requirement, it is not sufficient. We may have to give much more training, much more requirement. But as of now, we are concentrating more and more nearby to our registered warehouses. Because if a registered warehouse is not there, I train the farmers there to go to a warehouse. It doesn't serve the purpose. But in case, as Mr. Siraj suggested, warehouse mandatory registration of warehouse comes, then we may train in a large number every account holder of the repository. Ultimately, we have to train everybody who opened an account with a repository farmer. We have to train them about the importance and the ways of a negotiable warehouse.
Right. Kedar, would you like to add a few points here on the kind of awareness generation programs that you have been taking up for farmers?
Yeah, so I will again go back to if you look at the repository structure, we have the repository participants as an agent, and they open the client's account. So it may be a farmer or it may be a non-farmer. So now if you look at the distribution side, we are having more than 85 repository participants across India, and they have the approximate presence into the 2,000 locations, because they have more than 2,000 branches. So now, as again Srinivas, everything, all the campaign is restricted towards the registered warehouse. So within the ecosystem of registered warehouse, as earlier also I told you, that within the registered maybe 30-40 kilometers of total geography we capture, and we call the farmers, we at the same time we call the bankers, we call the repository person, and we create the awareness program. And that is a regular activity. As I told you, we have done more than a 400 awareness program. So every month that activity is going on, and it will continue. There is no doubt on that. So as he said that if the mandatory the registration become compulsory, the activity definitely will improve in a big way. That's the way it is.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So I would thank all of you for joining me here today. I think we have discussed most interesting aspects around warehousing challenges, and at this present point where we have a lot of positive developments happening for the farm sector. I think it was very essential we do this discussion today because we have spoken on several key issues which have been troubling the sector openly. And I hope the powers that be were listening and they facilitate the journey of ENWRs from here and thereby also help farmers earn better returns for all the hard work that they are putting on the fields. So I would hand over the mic to Abhishek or Anisha. If there are some questions, maybe we can take them on now.
Yeah, thanks, Rajlakshmi. Thank you for taking that. Actually, it was quite an insightful session with a lot to ponder about. I would now hand over this session to Abhishek. Abhishek Rai is the EVP and Head of Marketing and HR at NERL, and he will take the Q&A session and open the session to the audience. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thanks, Anisha. I think such an engaging session and a lot of learnings, and I'm sure we have around 260 participants right now listening, the August panelists here, and I'm sure they would have been benefited by this immensely. I will straight away go to the questions which has been asked. So the first question is for Srinivas ji by a person named Sunil Goel from Suraj Agro Cooperative Limited, Sriganganagar. He is asking this question, sir, that he is working, his society is registered with NAFED and working for procurement, but NAFED is not depositing with the WDRA registered warehouses, so the deposits are not happening with them. So that's his question, sir.
That's correct. NAFED, as of now, availing the services of largely Central Warehousing Corporation warehouses exclusively. That is in fact, we had a long talk several times. We have discussions with NAFED. In fact, we suggested NAFED because they are only procure in the last minute distress. When there is something problem, NAFED has to enter into the market for the price protection. So we always advise them, better you procure a ENWR than going into the market. Advise the people to keep in a warehouse and procure the ENWR so that the entire payment structure system becomes only online. But if there are so many things in between, they are still working with CWC as a warehouse and they are procuring and keeping in their name and disposing it up. Our advice to them is you procure ENWR and wait for a better market and dispose it off ENWR wise, so that instead of accumulating in-state cost and other things, transport cost, everything gets saved for them. And in fact, we also suggested them that you can approach your banks. ENWR is a better instrument so that you can ask for some concession in the interest rates also, because it's there. So their way of procurement is a long-drawn mechanism. It was already established mechanism. We advise them to slowly shift to our system. We hope they will understand and avail the facilities that are being created by the government.
Thank you, sir. Sir, a subsequent question to Siraj sir. Sir, what is your take that, like Srinivas ji mentioned, how can NAFED come on this platform, and from a very, very macro level, how can it make a difference in terms of, tying all the things together, the value chain participants and all the three WSPs, depositors and, bankers together? Is there something which they can come up from a very, very policy level, sir? So you're not audible.
Yes, I am a little disappointed that government has taken so long and it has still not made it mandatory for NAFED and other central government organizations to register their warehouses. So here the government creates the ecosystem for registration of warehouses, and its own organizations fully funded by the government are not making full use of it. I find it a little awkward. You see, if we want formalization of agriculture to take place, government has to show the way. And now that the system is in place, it was not very easy. WDRA has worked very hard over the years to make the system work. All credit to Mr. Patnaik and Mr. Srinivas. Mr. Srinivas is present here. So I think the government should make it mandatory for its own organizations, starting from FCI to NEFED to CWC to all the HWCs, that they register their warehouses so that they become part of an ecosystem. Right now, this whole thing is very disjointed. As I said, just about 1,800 warehouses is nothing.
That's true.
Sure, sir. Right. So, sir, the next question is from, this is again to Srinivas ji, Commander Ajay Zadu, Regional Manager, Hyderabad CWC. He's asking, the marginal and small farmers constitute 86% of total farmer population, and that these farmers are operating on a very small land, therefore their individual produce is very less, thereby precluding them from warehousing. Is there any plan in pipeline by WDRA to integrate these marginal and small farmers into warehousing ecosystem?
You see, for aggregating, the aggregating mechanism works through FPOs or FPs. So this is the major way of doing it. That responsibility lies with NABARD. NABARD is forming about 10,000 FPOs. They are already in a big scale, they are forming, and SFAC also forming a large number of FPO organizations. As far as WDRA is concerned, if an FPO formed and FPO takes some aggregate the stock, or FPO takes a small warehouse on lease, who give a hell of a concessions. We treat FPO and PACCS at low equal par. We don't insist for a major net worth. If it's a positive net worth, we allow. We only take 5,000 rupees registration fee for 5 years. Even the warehouse, generally FPOs may take warehouses which are located in rural areas. There in construction also we give some concessions. We don't insist for compound wall, we don't insist for security guard. Like that, promotion of FPO, that is what WDRA will do. And FPO development is NABARD takes, so that FPO becomes the aggregator for small and marginal farmers.
So, thank you, sir. So the next question is to Vijay. How is exchange playing a role in terms of making FPOs and farmers produce, FPOs participate on the exchange, and how is the ENWR making a difference? That is from Mr. Venkatar.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we are 100% using ENWR system. So this is an example of what the rest of the country can be. And I think to the point earlier raised, today the government is able to remit through direct benefit transfers to so many farmers at an instant is only because all the country's banks adopted the UPI based remittance or the NEFT or the RTGS based electronic transfer of money. If they had not, if some banks had said, no, I will not, I will only go by check or demand draft, or I will deal only in cash, then this would not have been possible, because some farmers would have their accounts with some banks and other farmers. So if some branches say, no, I will not move. So this is, I think everyone has, one is of course mandates. The other is everyone wanting to see the bigger picture and cooperating and wanting to see the benefit reach both the government on the one side and the farmer on the other side, and all the other value chain participants. So I think one thing that maybe these sort of seminars would urge is for branch to managers at banks and at government agencies and at private sector companies to take to see the bigger picture and voluntarily start the change. Then it will become easier. Of course, otherwise government will definitely mandate it. For instance, government did mandate that about 20,000 you cannot have cash being dispersed without traceability, etc. So I think finally mandates will come, but maybe it's easier if people see the benefits and take it up. And as I said, the exchange has demonstrated, thanks to both SEBI and WDRA, that this system works very efficiently because everyone in the ecosystem is following it, because all deliveries will follow the standardized system. Right? And the fact that supervision is occurring by the exchange, by the clearing corp, by SEBI and by WDRA is giving confidence to all the buyers and the sellers that this is a fair and trustworthy platform, and the processes are simple and easy to operate. I think this benefit should translate to every other agency, every other farmer, crop, and every region of this country. And that can definitely occur. And then just like UPI, where India is way above even some of the developed countries, this transformation of the agricultural sector can occur and we will be a model for a lot of other countries, whether in Africa or in Latin America, for how a country of this size can transform and make modern an agricultural system. And I think we have to commend the government that it has brought in these ordinances, and now it's up to the individuals, whether they are exchanges, whether they are national markets or banks or government agencies, to cooperate and make the change happen.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Vijay. The next question is to Kedar. This is Venkat Krishna Naidu. He's saying that more scheduled banks are not coming forward to pledging the ENWRs. The repository is not getting all banks into ENWR platform. Due to this, farmers are facing problems at CWC Nandi Kotkur. There's a question there. Kedar.
Yeah, so if you look at this, when we started the journey in 2017, after receiving the registration of WDRA, the first year was like a tough time, because explaining to the bank, explaining to all the stakeholders, getting them on a board and all. But if you look at the 1920 beginning, we had only 8 banks, but in 1920 we added more than 22 banks. Today we are having the 32 banks. The Nandi Kottur that time had a problem because only the UCO Bank was there to fund against the ENWR. But now, if you look at it, we have the ICICI Bank and we are having the Andhra Gramin Bank, which is RRB. So ultimately, both two banks have joined. So this season, definitely the Nandi Kottur farmers in CWC or in SWC, because now the APSWC also have joined, they will not face this kind of a problem. It was definitely initially the problem because only the UCO Bank was funding. But as this year the banks have joined, definitely they will get the finance at the right time. Don't worry about it. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure. Srinivas, there is another question from Srinivas again, Srinivas KM. He's asking that, is there horticulture produce eligible for ENWR program?
Yes. WDRA registers general cold storage, conventional, dry cold storage, or dry, or a cold storage, or a silo. So even if it is a horticulture, also about 22 horticulture products we already notified. So all those we will certainly take it up. Cold storage registration, really speaking, commenced only for the last 6-7 months. People are coming forward now to register their cold storages. In cold storages also, we have very tight way of working, and we ensure that appropriate insurance risks are there, even for a power failure and other things also. Horticulture also will take. In fact, we want more and more cold storages to be registered with us.
Thank you, sir. So there is a question which can be either handled, by Sri Raj sir or Srinivas ji. This is a guy from Madhya Pradesh called Sheikh Tosif. He's saying, I'm a trader and a processor of turmeric. He would be from southern India. I'm a trader and a processor of turmeric. In spite of having ENAM and WDRA, I still feel it is a challenge when it comes to procuring material from other states because of quality and trust issues. How do we look to solve the short or long-term problem of this sort?
You see, when it comes to a turmeric, something like that, it is a multi-state. The multi-state trade, even ENAM also not allowed in all their warehouse ENAM trade platforms. Within the state only they have able to. Now with the new trading platforms that are all expected to come, these problems of marketing problems across the state, these things may slowly come down or may go away in the days to come. That is certain. Otherwise, as of now, respective states are insisting not outsider trader not to come and purchase in their own places unless they have their own representative in the yard, in the APMC yard. Now this monopoly of my yard, APMC is getting down, and private people can start their own marketing platforms. People can move from one place to other places also. And if it is a stock in a ENWR, they need not move it immediately. As and when demand comes, they can move it to the place where they want it.
Siraj sir, you have been talking about warehouses being made market yards, and what do you think that how is it going to change the entire sphere with respect to accessible of a marketplace within warehouse?
I think there is still not enough clarity as to how the marketplaces will operate outside the APMCs. The government, in the Gazette notification of ordinance, the government said that it will come out with regulations. However, so far they have not come out with any regulation. So I do not really know how the private players who come up with platforms are going to be regulated. So I'm still waiting, keeping my fingers crossed.
Sure.
But I must say that so far, before these ordinances, a warehouse was allowed to function as a sub-market yard with the approval of APMC. Many warehouses had taken this approval from APMC. Now what has happened is that in a trade area which is outside the APMC, APMC's approval is not needed. So my worry is that many of these warehouses which had taken permission from the APMC to work as marketplace will tender that. I think we are still in early days, so we really do not know how it will actually play out.
Right. Thank you. Next question is to Sujit. This is from Rishikesh. He is asking that while doing research for your book, what was one thing which you found about warehouses, and how does that get knitted through this WDRA ecosystem, which you can relate and talk about? One aspect which you found very important, which can be talked about as far as the warehousing system in the country is concerned, and what is it with respect to the WDRA ecosystem, which you can talk?
Yeah, I think I'll answer it slightly differently. I think one of the major misunderstandings that is there, which gets cleared when you go onto the ground and do these kind of trips, is sometimes all is not as bad with the status quo as it is made out to be. So whether it is the need for warehouses, regulation of warehouses, or it is the whole APMC thing, or it is user access to even the whole middleman Aratya thing. So in my book, in fact, I say somewhere that the friction is fictitious. So sometimes it is this is a very sort of mutually beneficial arrangement over generations that have happened between farmers and whether the local haats or local small sort of storage areas or the mandi agents. So it's all not bad. I think that was one very eye-opening thing when we talk of supply chain as a whole, not necessarily just specifically warehouses, but and there are reasons and reasons which the Aratyas will also point out. So today only there is a big article in the paper which talks about how the Maharashtra APMC is, going crazy about this, how their role is going to diminish. So they always will have a point that we are also providing a lot of things to the farmer, and just by completely making all these things electronic and allowing bilateral arrangements, things may not be all great. So we do play an important role. And when you talk to farmers, they also sort of agree with this, that not all will say that we have a big problem. Many of them say that we are okay with the arrangement and everything is fine. I think this is one important part that we should not assume. So if it's not broken, don't mend it, kind of a thing. That is, I think, one thought that I wanted to respond to you in that way.
Sure. Thanks, Sujit. I think the last question, this would be my question to Raj Lakshmi. You have been, consistently writing about the ecosystem, and I've been following you. One last remark from you, and then we will end it. Is that what is your take, about the ecosystem and how? Because you have been doing research with farmers and you're going and talking to people. What is your last remark or last note which you feel that how is this ecosystem is going to make a difference to farmers, FPOs, and everyone who's in the value chain?
Right. Thanks, Abhishek, for that question. See, any new system which is being introduced, I have seen the way ENAM was introduced and the doubts and challenges which people had, in onboarding onto the ENAM platform. I had seen actually the process of onboarding in ENAM in Nizamabad and a few other markets in AP and Telangana. So there was all the people were hostile. I mean, there were a lot of issues in the first few months of introducing of the platform. So a lot of convincing had to be done. A lot of faith had to be brought in people, in different stakeholders, not just the farmers, but also the commission agents, the traders, the mandi officials. So there should be a lot of buying into the concept which is being introduced. And because we're trying to reform a market which has been working in a particular fashion for the last 70 years. So when we are taking efforts to reform a particular area or a segment of population or sector, I think it needs a lot of awareness building. It needs a lot of education. So I think ENWRs are also going the same way as ENAM is, so now that they are into expanding their network, I think slowly as people get to use the platform and get to see the benefits of it, I think it will become far easier for WDRA and also the commodity repositories to increase the reach of the instrument. I think a beginning has been made, and I think soon, maybe in next 1-2 years time, I think all of us, all the stakeholders will see the fruits of it.
Thank you, Raj Lakshmi. I think I just want to quickly thanks 260 participants who were here and participated with us. A big thank you to Siraj sir. I think I like the word which you made about, actually demonetization was to make formalization of economy. And I think this ecosystem is actually the WDRA ecosystem can make a difference. Thank you, Srinivasji. I think it gives us a lot of confidence that this is going to be there. And 1850 is just the number. I think we will cross larger numbers as we move forward. Thanks for your time. Thank you, Vijay. It's always a pleasure to have you to give the perspective of exchange and overall agri perspective. So thanks so much. Sujit, nice interacting with you all this while, and looking forward to complete your book. Over a month, I would say. I just started. So thank you. And thank you, Raj Lakshmi, for wonderfully moderating the session. And thanks, Kedar. As usual, it's very homely. So good to have all of you. Thank you and have a nice weekend. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sujit. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Raj Lakshmi.
Thank you. Thank you.